Like to thank our sponsors today, Pop McCann Whiskey, smoothest drink in the land. Grab your bottle today at popsmccannwhiskey.com. Also like to thank Friends of Martina White. Visit votemartina.com for more information about the work Martina has been doing as state representative of Pennsylvania. We would also like to thank our sponsor, Beyond Creative. If you're ready to take your online presence to the next level, visit beyondocreative.com or call 267-362-WEB1 to discuss your project. And our title sponsor, AR Law, arjusticenow.com. We fight so you don't have to. Adams Renzi Law. We would also like to thank our sponsor, Morrow Flooring, hardwood, laminate, vinyl, tile, and carpet. You get military and first responders discount. That is Morrow Flooring. You can go to goodcopbadcoppodcast.com. Click on his link for more details.
Breathe. Put your hands down, stop scrolling, and the volume up. This is the Good Cop, Bad Cop podcast.
So where were you at? Do you remember this happening?
Yeah, I was in Miami. I think this was November 89, right?
Yes, November 27th, 1989.
Yeah, so in was it August or September? I think. Yeah. Anyway, it was late summer in 89. We were doing a small deal for 17 kilos of coke in Miami just to buy a bust. And my partner and I and another guy, we were the inside arrest team. We had an undercover and an informant. And the two bad guys show up with what they represented to be 2 kilos. Our undercover starts doing a field test on it, and they pull out guns, and it's a straight out ripoff. We're supposed to be, I think back then it was 26,000 a kilo for 17 keys. And
was it burned or was it real product?
No, it was just sham.
Yeah.
And we ended up in a shootout in the house, and Kevin got hit twice. My partner got hit twice in the arm with 45 caliber slugs. And
damn,
our informant caught a 357 round right on the Adam's apple. He didn't make it to the hospital. Kevin ended up recuperating. He was able to continue his career, but his arm is really, really screwed up.
Oh, taking 245s to the arm. Yeah.
In the same arm, one below the elbow, one above the elbow. But shortly, like a week or two after that shooting, after we caught everybody, they decided to get me out of Miami for a while because Kevin was off for about a year for recuperation. I think he had 8 operations total. So they sent me down to the Bahamas for 3 months, which was pretty cool, to be honest with you. But
were you working?
Yeah, flying patrol every day with U.S. Coast Guard and the Bahamian National Police, and was this operation DEA had called Operation Bat. And we had offices we had helos in Freeport and Nassau, and then down in the southern part of the Bahamas in Georgetown, and just reacting to tips that come in about boatloads of dope. Up on the north end, it wasn't quite as active in Freeport.
Right.
But we're on patrol one day, and it was remember the old Coast Guard Sikorsky helicopters, the really big ones, and had the baskets that they could lower.
Yeah.
So we were on the eastern side of Grand Bahama Island, which is pretty much uninhabited out there. And we see this huge burlap thing that looked like it washed up on the beach. They put me in a basket and lowered me down. 72 kilos of cocaine had just washed up on the beach. Unbelievable. Wow. It was washing up on the beaches. It's falling out of the air. It was crazy times. So that's where I was in 89. When that happened with the Avianca flight, I think I was still in the Bahamas.
In the Bahamas? Are you still married to the practice wife?
No, I was already on number 2 now. And we've been married 41 years. So I think this one might last.
That's the real deal?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I'm not testing the waters. This is it.
She's, I'll tell you what, she's something.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that. 41 years later.
41 years putting up with my crap.
That's great. So what do you remember from the bombing at all? Do you remember paying attention to it? Do you think maybe this is something, do you know the DEA is involved? Do you any thoughts of you heading down there?
No, at that time, I mean, I only had a couple years on the job, so I'm still a rookie in DEA terms. Even though I've been a cop for 14 years now, I'm still a rookie. And I'll be honest with you, we had so many cases going. It was, I mean, you know how it is. There's just days that you don't go home you're sleeping in your car. If we were out there for more than 3 days, they would pay to get one hotel room, and we'd rotate guys in there for naps. You could go in, take a nap, take a shower, get back out and let somebody else have a turn. So it was the most exciting time of my life at that point. My wife, Connie, she was a registered nurse and she's working in a cardiac cath unit. She always liked the exciting part of hospitals, ICU and emergency room and trauma and that kind of stuff, which I think is really gross.
Yeah,
But
me too. Not a
she's
fan.
she thinks what I do, that we're all idiots. So kind of worked out, we both had exciting lives back then. But if in all the offices, especially bigger offices, like in Miami, we had 10 enforcement groups, plus I think there were 3 or 4 task force groups. And each group is considered a response group for certain parts of the world. And so I was in group 10, which we called the Caribbean group. So we were the response group for all the DEA offices throughout the Caribbean. So there was another group, I think it was group 3, was the response group for Colombia. So any request for assistance that would come out of Colombia would have come to group 3. And everybody's just so busy, man. You don't know what everybody else is doing.
Right.
You've got a deconfliction element in place so you don't, go up a blue on blue type situation. But and still, there were so many law enforcement agencies in South Florida doing drug deals. We still had a couple of blue on blue situations that.
Yeah, for the listeners, blue on blue would be friendly fire.
Yeah. Cops investigating cops, not knowing they're investigating cops.
Yeah.
So it was, there was one where Kevin and I this was going to be his and I's one of our very first cases as case agents. So we were still, newbies, even after a couple of years. And the initial meet with our informant is going to be at the Denny's on 36th Street over next to Miami Airport. And we get out there a couple hours early, set up pre-surveillance and watching. And we've all got blacked out windows. And, I'm sitting there and I've got the eyeball on the door to Denny's. We watch our informant go in, and I'd park next to a pickup truck. Well, next thing you know, that pickup truck starts its engine. I didn't know anybody was in it because they were blacked out windows. And he pulls out and he pulls over and blocks my view. And I'm like, oh, this is not good, So I told everybody on the radio, I said, hey, let's meet up. The bad guys haven't shown up. Let's meet up a couple blocks away. And so we get over there, and I told everybody, I said, I think these are cops, or they're either cops or bad guys. So, we all vest up. We come back out, got our gun belts on. Some guys have long guns. And we pull up with lights flashing, blue lights flashing on that truck, and everybody gets out with their weapons. And the first thing you see is a window roll down and a badge comes out the window. It was Hialeah Police Department. So it was potential for a blue on blue situation.
Yeah, Hialeah in Miami, right?
Yeah, one of the suburbs there in Miami. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I had something similar. I was in a paddy wagon with my partner, Eric B., and we were transporting a prisoner downtown. I can't remember probably DUI, because if we're going down to the PAB, which is a police administrative building, it's where we took our DUIs back in the day, which would be Center City. And we're driving, we hit 2nd and Girard. At that point now, it's 2nd and Girard's like yuppie, really nice. You can go get a Michelin star restaurant down there. 20 years ago, it was dangerous, land of the walking dead. We're stopped at the light. We're going south, and with the east and westbound lanes, I look over, I said, holy shit. I said, dude, there's a carjacking. And I see 2 Spanish guys with guns out trying the door handles. So, we hop on the radio, we have a, armed robbery in sight. We hop out with our guns, running down on them. And thank God I got closer. I knew the guy. It was my buddy Eddie. Wow. It was a plainclothes team trying to stop a robbery suspect.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. They're plainclothes. Again, you don't know, and we're not supposed to be in that district. And thank God I knew Eddie, because it could have been bad.
Absolutely.
Because they had their guns out, obviously wearing uniform. And then you had bad guys in the car too. Thank God they didn't have anything. They could have exploited the situation. Worked out well, but it happens, and people don't understand how dangerous these situations can be, especially when you're talking about completely different departments that have no connection to each other.
Right. And back then there wasn't a centralized deconfliction center where agencies could call in. But, in the early 80s, there was actually a case where a DEA agent was shot by Hialeah Police Department, who mistook him for a bad guy. He was playing an undercover role, but they shot him. He survived. It
happens. Yeah, thank God. Yeah. All right, so this is, I believe, where you jump in here. 1992, so from the bombing, 1991. So the bombing 2 years prior, there's a lot of pressure put on the Colombian government, especially from the United States and the DEA, and they're going after Pablo, putting a lot of pressure on him, shutting him down. trying to get him to surrender, killed, arrested, whatever. And he realizes this, so he comes up with a plan with the government. He's under a lot of pressure from the citizens to stop this narco war, because there's bombings every day, people being killed still, civilians, police officers, military. And Pablo comes up with an idea that he's going to what, Steve?
He's going to surrender.
Right.
And actually, the Attorney General of Colombia at that time was a guy named Gustavo Grief. And he came up with this idea. And first of all, here in the United States, when our president is elected, he chooses who's going to be the Attorney General. In Colombia, the Attorney General is elected by the public, so he's autonomous from the president. So de Grief comes up with this idea, and de Grief is educated in the United States, just very well spoken, very distinguished looking guy. A little bit too far to the left for my liking, but he comes up with this idea that, and he calls it a self-surrender program. If you will come in and plead guilty to whatever felony you choose, one felony. Yep. We will absolve you of every other crime you've ever committed in your life, to include murder. Here in the United States, what's the one crime that does not have a statute of limitations?
Homicide.
Yeah. So Pablo's, he's not a sucker. He's not going to go try it out himself. He sends some of his underlings in. They go into the Grief, hey, I want to take advantage of this. And it worked. Just make a long story short. So Pablo calls de Grief and says, hey, some of my guys said this is a good plan. It looks like you're going to honor what you say. And he said, I want to come in to surrender. And of course, de Grief's like, oh, thank you, Mr. Escobar. Thank you so much. It's going to be so good for our country. And Pablo's like, well, wait just a minute here. Before we finish this up, I got some stipulations. He said, first of all, listen, I don't trust the prisons here in Colombia, so I'm going to build my own prison. But you know what? I'm going to pay for it myself, because I don't want the citizens of Colombia to have to bear that tax burden.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Oh, yeah. And de Grief says, okay. He said, well, listen, the guards there, I'm going to pay their salaries because I need them to be loyal to me. I don't need some, assassin, some Sicario in there coming in there trying to kill me. And of course, de Grief says, okay. And he says, well, my fellow inmates, I'm going to handpick them, because I can't have people I don't know in there because they may try and kill me. And de Grief says, okay. And he says, those good guys, the Colombian police, the Colombian military, especially those gringos, they're not allowed to come within 2 miles of the perimeter of my prison, because I'm afraid they're going to try to come in there and circumvent our judicial system and try to kidnap me and take me to the United States. De Grief says, okay. And he said, listen, I'm not going to spend the rest of my life in prison. The most I'm going to do is 5 years. De Grief says, okay. And there's no stipulation to touch any of his assets, which has been estimated to be as high as $30 billion.
Billion. Yeah, he was on Forbes' list as one of the most influential and rich people in the entire world.
For 6 years in a row.
Yeah, I don't know if people really understand that or realize how insane, because he has nothing to show for it.
They determined he was the 7th richest person in the world for 6 years in a row. Well, I'd like to know where they got their statistics. Where did they come up with that?
And what did he say his wealth was from? Was it sanitation, or what was it? Laundry business?
The one that he really promoted was his 3-car taxi cab company.
That's it, the taxi cab. Yeah, 3 cars.
3 taxi cabs can earn $30 billion.
Yeah, well, man, that's true. Plan. I'm looking into it now.
You and I need to start a business.
Yes, sir. We'll give Uber a run for its money.
It's just so outrageous.
So outrageous. Just to give you an idea of the prison, he took a famous picture of him behind bars. Mm-hmm. And it should have been just like a carnival ride, because it was a set of bars in a room that was bigger than most people's houses. So this is the compound.
Now this is modern day.
Yeah, this is modern day. So this is one of the compounds that he had, and you can see the views are absolutely serene and beautiful. Yes. He had hot tubs, swimming pools, the basketball court that was there. This is giving you an idea of what the compound looked like, but these are pictures taken today. Yeah, he had, look at that, a helipad was there, I believe, when he was there. Everything he needed. He was isolated from not only the government, but from his enemies. But here goes the video of it. Just give you an idea how large the compound was. Again, he isolated himself not only from the good guys, but from the bad guys, and it was business as usual. In fact, those few years after the bombing, I know he took a little bit of a hurting from the pressure that was put on him, and from here he was able to rebuild his infrastructure and really started pumping in money again.
Yeah, and the pictures you show there, that's a lot of those buildings were not there when he was still in prison. It was the place was continuing under construction. He'd already been in there a whole year when he escaped, but a lot of it was still under construction.
So yeah, he couldn't even do a whole year in his own prison. But there's a reason for that. I believe he killed two of his top commanders, right?
He did, Kiko Moncada and Fernando Galeano, and he and Kiko Moncada grew up. They were childhood friends, and he beat him
they were stealing, right?
Beat him to death. Yeah, and so what happened? The Sicarios are out doing their thing, and Pablo Sicarios, and they find this stash of money. And now the original report, because I've still got a copy of the report, was that it was $23 million they found hidden in a cave that had been shrink wrapped. And the shrink wrap had come loose. And so water and moisture had gotten in there, and he got as much as 23 million. Some people say 10 million, but I just remember the original report was 23 million. And all this money is just rotting away. Now, if you think about it, that takes more than a day, for paper to rot. So you got to, the shrink wrap has to break open, then you got moisture gets in, and then mildew, and then mold, and then the decomposition process really goes to town. So they brought that in and told him, hey, we found this on Kiko's property. Well, then Pablo has one of his guys call Kiko and Fernando and say, hey, listen, we're going to have a big party up here. Come on up. We want you guys to join us. And they're, two of his main lieutenants. Yep. And they tell him, don't bring your security detail. We're not going to talk any business. This is just we're going to have a cookout tonight. And they had a bar inside the prison. They had hookers rolling in there all the time.
Yeah, they're smuggled in via truck.
Oh yeah,
constantly. So 24/7 rotation of goods and people.
It was ridiculous. Yeah. It was ridiculous. So that's Kiko and Fernando show up, and they could. We heard this from an informant who was on Kiko Moncada's security detail, and he had driven Kiko up there. It's a wonder he didn't get killed. But anyway, he said that Kiko walks in and he sees the money laying there, and he looks at Pablo, and he said, Pablo's face is just like, I'm going to kill you. They're trying to explain, this is not what you think it is, Pablo. We buried that money a long time ago. We actually had forgotten about it. Now, how do you forget about millions and millions of dollars? I mean, you know how it is. If I find $5 in a pair of shorts here, I think I've hit the jackpot.
To be fair, though, they're pulling in how much millions of dollars a week, like 30 million a week.
Yeah.
Something insane like that.
Yeah, it's outrageous. So the Sicarios, they're just violent people, and they're egging Pablo on to kill these two guys. And finally, Pablo's had enough, I guess, he's ticked off to start with, and then the Sicarios are egging him on, and he grabs a stick and he starts beating Kiko and ends up killing him. And the Sicarios, they jump on Fernando and they kill him. The bodies have never been found. Parts of the bodies have been found, like fingers and ears and things like that. But
they believe they're incinerated, right? They had an incinerator for trash on premises.
There's a lot of stories. We thought they were buried up there. There's stories that they were chopped up and made into a stew and fed to the dogs on the property. I mean, just a lot of crazy. We brought in EPA professionals to search the grounds. And they brought in certain equipment that they've got that it can detect human remains underground, and nothing was ever found. So we really don't know what happened to them other than they just disappeared.
Okay, so this is and you end up getting transferred to Colombia at this point, correct?
Well, I got there the week that Pablo surrendered to this prison in 91.
Right. Okay.
Is when I got there. And, I got there on Sunday, went to the embassy on Monday, and I think it was Thursday that week is when Pablo surrendered. And I just figured he heard, well, crap, this guy Murphy's here. I might as well give it up.
The new sheriff in town showed up, and that was it, man. He heard
about a joke.
Heard about your shooting in Virginia and your takedowns in Miami. That's it, man. He gave up. I mean, it's not a coincidence. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Hell of a job, Steve.
I like the way you're thinking. But here's what I saw in the embassy, and I didn't know any of the agents there. I knew two new guys because we'd gone to Spanish language school together. But everybody's disappointed and ticked off, and I'm thinking, holy cow, this is Pablo Escobar, and you're upset that he's in prison. And the guys they're like, you don't know Jack, pal. You just got here. You don't know
Yeah.
what's really going on. And Javier had a different partner at that time named Gary Sheridan. And Gary was an ATF agent before he became a DEA agent, and he was stationed in Charleston, West Virginia. So we had some friends in common. And Gary and I kind of hit it off, and he's the one explaining it to him. He's like, this is what's going on. So many police officers have been killed. This is a joke. This whole surrender thing's a joke and all that. So it's put a whole new perspective on it.
So with this murder, 1992, July 29th, the military and the government decided there's way too much pressure on us from the United States, I guess, and I guess from your office, possibly, putting pressure on them to get Pablo moved to a real prison.
Well, actually, DEA is the one that developed the information about what happened with the murders. And
is that you?
No, but I'm not going to name who it is. But
okay,
you can probably figure it out. It wasn't me though. So anyway, we went to our boss, and they went to the ambassador, and I'm sure Washington was involved, but eventually the message got to the new president, Cesar Gaviria, that, hey, do something about it, or this is probably going to go to the press. And so that's when he sent a military unit up with a deputy justice minister and said, they tried to ruse. They said, go tell Pablo that we're going to reinforce his prison to make it more secure for him. In the meantime, we're going to put him in a nicer prison, or one of the better Colombian prisons, which they all sucked. There's nothing nice about any of the prisons down there. And Pablo's not that stupid.
Yeah, I don't think I would have bought that one either.
Yeah. So it was funny because when I got there, there's a military colonel. They didn't send the cops because the cops would have taken care of business, but they sent this military unit up with this. I think it was lieutenant colonel, and they get to the gate of the prison, and the justice minister looks over at the colonel and says, "Well, Colonel, go get him." He's like, "President told me to go get him. He told you to go get him. I'm not going in there." So this deputy justice minister, who's 25 years old, a guy named Mendoza, goes in there by himself.
It's ballsy, man.
That or crazy, which I tend to think is more crazy, but goes in there, and of course the Sicarios want to kill him, and Pablo's like, you call the president. Well, previously the president of Colombia would talk to Pablo when he called, and members of Congress would, the press would especially. Now they were refusing to answer. So the president, once they take the deputy justice minister as a hostage, of course, the lieutenant colonel calls back for reinforcements. They bring in an elite military unit called the Copas, and they go in, and these are the boys that we call them special operators.
Right.
And they go in, and there's a firefight. Of course, you know who the guards are loyal to, because who pays your paycheck, right? So a lot of the guards were killed. No good guys were injured that night, believe it or not.
That's great.
And the deputy justice minister is still alive today. They were able to get him out.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
That's a miracle. But we all know that led to Pablo and I think 7. So there's a total of 14 prisoners. So, 8 of them walk out the back door and escape.
Yep. So Pablo escapes. So I guess this is game on for you now, right?
It was. It's we're all watching it on TV just like everybody else. And the next morning we head into the embassy, and our boss calls us in and says the head of the Colombian National Police just called. They're going to recreate this group called the Search Block, Bloque de Búsqueda is how you say it in Spanish. And they want Peña and Murphy up there living in Medellin with them. We said, okay, what do you want us to do? And they said, go home, pack your bags. You're going to Medellin for the duration. So we do. We go home, pack our bags, turn around, come back up. The DEA plane, we had a twin engine, I think it was an Aero Commander we had back then, flew us into Medellin. They had a Huey gunship come and pick us up and transport us to the police base.
So that's like August 1st, right? August 1st in 1992.
Yep. So for the next 18 months, we're off and on living in Medellin.
What was it like?
It was exciting to start with. We got to the point where we're going out on ops with them. We're flying out on those Huey gunships. You get shot at, which I know sounds stupid. That's exciting, but it is.
Yeah.
Especially when you're 30 years younger. We were going out and doing surveillance. We were meeting with informants we didn't do anything unilaterally. Everything was done in conjunction with a specialized unit of the Colombian National Police called DEA. These are the guys that will kick your butt and take your name.
And this is part of the search block, right?
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
So Now, a few weeks into it, we get a call to come back to the embassy, and we go in and we meet this guy named Colonel Jerry Boykin. He's a special operator from the Army. Got his first star while he was down there, became General Boykin. He introduces us to Delta Force, which I had no clue who they were. So they come.
No one did.
Yeah. Back then they were secret.
Yep.
So they come and they move into the base. Then about a week later, they call us back, and this time they introduced us to SEAL Team 6. So we had Delta and 6 with us, what we call development group or dev group now, with us there. We're probably less than a month into the operation when both these, I mean, these are the best operators in the world.
Yep.
These guys are, if you look up the word stud in the dictionary, their picture is there. I mean, I don't think the utmost respect.
I don't think people realize the difference between SEAL and Delta also. SEAL Team 6 is not the premier. They're badass in their own right, but Delta is leaps and bounds ahead of them.
Yeah, I'm friends with both. I won't say one way or another, but
yeah,
you might be right.
Amazing. It's amazing what they can do. It really is. And I don't think a lot of people realize or even know today that they were involved in the search for Pablo Escobar.
Right. But here's the thing though. So the ambassador, who was a retired lieutenant commander, naval commander, Morris Busby was his name. This guy's like 6'7". I mean, this is a guy you want to work for. He's a let's go do our mission kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he's not career State Department. He's a military guy brought over because of his experience. Well, the deputy chief of mission, the DCM, is always the number 2 guy in an embassy. He sets the ground rules, and he says no American is allowed to leave the police base in Medellin. And the police base in Colombia is like a military base here in the United States. And it was for our own safety. Well, Javier and I talked about it. It's like, we can't do our job if we can't go out of the gate, So we thought, well, we'll just look at this as strong suggestions and we'll go ahead and do our job. And we did. Well, the military guys, because they're military, they follow orders. If they had let those guys do their job, and this is all speculation, but I honestly believe this, I think within 3 weeks of them getting there, we would have captured Pablo, certainly not more than 3 months.
No kidding.
But because of a career State Department person who was, rightfully or not, was worried about our safety, we know it's a dangerous job. Hell, we're living in frickin' Colombia.
Yeah.
But because he wouldn't let the best operators in the world do their job.
There's a thing to mitigate danger, but there's also, you have to be able to do your job and operate.
Well, and on top of that, we had a colonel at the time in charge of the search block. We nicknamed him Pajamas because you go wake him up in the middle of the night. He come to the door in silk pajamas. We're living on a freaking police base, and he's coming to the door in silk pajamas.
It's a man after my own heart.
I would like to thank our sponsor, Pennsylvania State Rep Martina White. She has always been fighting and a voice for the voiceless for your first responders and police officers. She's a friend and backer of the Blue. You can check her out at repwhite.com. You can see what she's up to. And if you're in the Philadelphia, Northeast Philadelphia area or Bucks County, you definitely want to check her out because she's your state rep. Again, you can check her out at repwhite.com. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Morrow Flooring and Carpets. If you're looking for a new floor or carpets, you can call 267-888-4644. Ask for the owner, Tommy Morrow. If you are a cop, fireman, first responder, or military vet, he will hook you up and give you a big, big discount. Tommy's one of our first guests on this show. He's a bona fide hero himself. Not only is he a Philadelphia police officer, but he owns an awesome flooring company. You can also check them out at morrowflooringllc.net. Like I said, if you're looking for flooring and you want a hero to do your carpet or flooring, give Tommy a call. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Pops McCann Whiskey, the smoothest drink in the land. You can go to popsmccannwhiskey.com, grab yourself a high-end bottle of whiskey or bourbon. He has all styles and flavors. Either you're a beginner or a hardcore whiskey enthusiast, check out Pops McCann Whiskey at popsmccannwhiskey.com.
We're living in a barracks that's designed, the rooms are designed, each bedroom is designed for 2 people, and then you share a bathroom with the bedroom next to you. We had as many as 8 people per room living in there. I mean, there was nothing comfortable about this at all. No air conditioning is hot. You know, you got mosquitoes coming in all the time and all that stuff. But pajamas, I almost said his name there. We would get information from these special operators, and they'd say, we got reliable information. He's at this address. And they've plotted everything out. They've got satellite photographs. They got access to things that we never even dreamt about. And so we'd go to pajamas and say, hey, Colonel, we need, if you can give us like 15, 20 guys and a few cars, we got good information. Oh my gosh, it's 3:30 in the morning. We got to get up at 5:30. We've got physical training at 6. And then we got, accountability, and we got, just all the excuses in the world not to do his job.
Was he on the payroll of Pablo, or just?
Not that we could ever prove. But as things went on, the ambassador called Javier one night. He's like, and he's getting his information from the military guys. So they're kind of ratting us out, but we don't have any control.
Yeah.
But the ambassador calls Javier one night, and he's like, what the hell is going on up there? Why are you not going out and acting? And Javier was just honest and said, this colonel, the first day we came into the base, the colonel came up to us face to face and says, I don't want you here. I didn't ask for you to be here. If it was up to me, you wouldn't be here. I'm here. You're here, but only because I was ordered to let you on the base. Stay out of my face. Don't cause me any issues. So we told the ambassador, hey, this is the problem. So what they did is a guy named Hugo Martinez, who was a colonel, who led the first manhunt before Pablo surrendered. He, as a thank you, the Colombian National Police had stationed him in Spain, to give him a break from all the things, because Pablo tried to kill him and his family all the time. So they called Colonel Martinez and brought him back, which, it ticked him off. And, his wife was pissed.
Yeah.
Because she liked living over in Spain. And so when they got rid of pajamas and brought Martinez back in, that's when things started happening. But we're so far down the road now, the military guys are not getting the same good intel that they were getting initially. Right. Pablo was learning from his mistakes.
So what ended up happening to Martinez?
He eventually got, after Escobar was killed, he was promoted up to general. And I think Javier told me a few years ago he had a heart attack and passed away. But that's a true hero right there.
Yeah, he faced all that adversity again. Was it Plato El Plomo?
Yep.
All right. He said, give me the lead.
And where Martinez's family lived in Bogota, it was this really nice apartment complex. Bogota's a really nice city if you get into the nicer, especially the northern part of the city. And when they moved in, all the other residents in there signed a petition and presented it to the Martinez family. Said, we want you to move out because we're afraid Pablo's going to blow this building up.
Wow. Yeah.
So in Medellin, Colonel Martinez ended up moving his family into his residence on the police base in Medellin to keep them safe.
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah.
He definitely would have murdered this family if he could. Yep. All right. So we're getting close to the end. We could sit here and talk about this for 6 hours, especially your career. And maybe we will at another time. So let's just go down to the last day or two. It's December 2nd, 1993 is when Pablo gets killed. What's that day like? You wake up. What time of the day did that happen? Was that like early morning, mid-afternoon?
It was more like midday, maybe just a little bit after lunch.
All right. So walk us through your day that day. You wake up.
Yeah. So you get up. You get up like at 5 a.m. because where our barracks was, underneath that barracks, outside your window was the kitchen for the whole police base, and there's 600 cops.
Gotcha.
600 personnel there.
You're not sleeping through breakfast.
Oh no! Well, they start cooking at like 2:30, and the cooks down there, I think they're pissed off that you're sleeping and they're not, so they make all the noise they can, so you never get a good night's sleep. But you get up about 5 o'clock, and first thing you do is go check, see what happened overnight.
Let's set the stage for everybody real quick. So at this point, we have, I believe, the CIA involved. We have small planes that are outfitted with, I guess, receptors or transponders. I don't know the exact jargon that can help pinpoint radio signals. And you guys are kind of tracking Pablo now through his use of his communication with his family. Again, we touched on this very earlier. Another downfall was his wife and his family and his need to constantly be in touch with them. If he just went underground, this might have lasted a little bit longer. But so, we have active planes in the air, and I believe people in trucks trying to pinpoint and triangulate the radio calls that are coming from Pablo, right?
So this is giving an idea of what's going on. I think you guys have already narrowed an area, a larger plot of where he might be. Is that correct at this point?
Yeah. And there was a lot of things that led up to that where he was trying to get his family out of the country because that was his Achilles heel, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
But there was a lieutenant with the Colombian National Police who happens to be the son of Colonel Martinez. So, and his name is Hugo Martinez Jr. So Lieutenant Martinez and Colonel Martinez. And Lieutenant Martinez, a very intelligent young man, he had taught himself how to use radio directional finding equipment. The government of France had donated these vans with equipment on it. The algorithm at that time was just simple triangulation. So you put three of these vans on high points around the city. They're shooting out a beam where those three beams intersect. That's where Pablo's phone's originating from.
So this is portrayed in the show Narcos too. This is obviously true.
Yeah, this is all true. So the margin of error. So Pablo's phone was not 3G, 4G, 5G like we have. They were basically just radio telephones that operated off a radio frequency. He could change the frequency at any time, and that would thwart Operation Center Spike, which is the CIA operation of the plane flying around that you talked about. They would have to start using their equipment to try to find what his new frequency was so we could listen to his conversations.
Right.
The family they went to Frankfurt, and we were able to get the German government to expel them back to Colombia. So they were under the Attorney General's protection in this 5-star hotel in downtown Bogota called the Tequendama. You never know where you're going to get an informant. So my partner Javier, he's the best cop I've ever met when it comes to informants. And I mean that 100% seriously. He happens to have an informant who's on the Attorney General's protection detail that's protecting the Escobar family. Well, he's walking by one day, and Pablo's son, Juan Pablo, was in there talking to his dad. And the guard looks down, he sees the frequency on the radio set there, calls Javier, I know, it's amazing.
Amazing.
Passes the frequency to Javier. We pass it to CIA. They pass it up to Center Spike. About an hour later, we get confirmation we got Pablo's new frequency. So now you got Lieutenant Martinez up there, and you got the van shooting their beams out, and they come up with a general area. But the margin of error back at this time could be 2, 3, 4 city blocks big. You know, Medellin's a city of over 2 million people. So to refine that margin of error down, you have to send somebody in with a handheld antenna and a meter, and the meter's gauging the strength of the signal. And the way you use that antenna is you ride down the street holding it out the window. Okay. So, it just makes you as obvious as just unbelievable.
You're not hiding that.
Yeah. So Lieutenant Martinez, he thought he had pinpointed it the first time. And so the Dahin guys, our guys, were out there supporting him. So they go raid this warehouse. Turns out to be an empty warehouse. And of course, they dogged him out because gave us this where there's nobody there, you idiot. And so he looked around, he realized there was a body of water close by, and water will affect the way radio waves travel through the atmosphere. So he recalibrated everything. He's riding down the street, and he's got his arm out the window. He's got a driver. He's got his little meter, and his meter's telling him to look up to the left. The signal's coming from the left. And he looks up in the second floor window of this row house, and there's Pablo up there looking out.
Pablo Escobar. That's crazy.
On the phone. Now, Lieutenant Martinez says that Pablo looked at him as he drove by. So, think about it. If you and I saw something, we'd be talking to whoever and like, what the hell is that? We went back and listened to the conversations because everything was tape recorded.
Right.
There was no indication that Pablo ever realized what he was seeing drive down the street. And it's just like you and I talking, we're looking at each other on camera, but as I'm telling these stories, I'm reliving everything up here in my mind.
Yeah.
So I see you, but I'm more up here.
Oh,
that's the only explanation we've ever come up with is why.
Yeah. Listen, you stare out, you're zoned out sometimes. You don't see what's going on.
Exactly. So, Lieutenant calls back in. Now I'm actually at the base. There was a quad area where there was our barracks and there were a bunch of offices, and the colonel's office was on the other side of the quad. And it's only maybe 20 yards. And I'm standing in the room with all the special operators, all the gringos. It's just nice to talk to somebody about sports in English and your families and things like that. But I'm standing in the doorway and I see the colonel's executive staff run into his office, which is very unusual. So I told all the gringos, hey man, something's going on. I'll be right back. I go to Colonel Martinez's office. He's in there on a portable radio. He's got his majors and lieutenant colonels in there, and he looks at me. He's like, "Come on in, come on in." So I'm listening, and I asked one of the lieutenant colonels, Pelias, I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, we think that Lieutenant Martinez has found Pablo. He thinks it's 100% confirmation." Like, okay, yeah, we've heard this before. So we're all standing there listening, and you can hear Martinez saying, "Secure the location. Don't let him get away. We're going to load up all the troops. We're heading your way." Well, it takes a while to load up 600 people, get everybody lined up. But Martinez says, "Whatever you do, don't let him get away." So they send a couple guys around back of this row house. Martinez had told them to secure the location. Well, these Dahin guys, they're not going to wait on anybody. One of the things they had learned from the U.S. operators is how to use det cord to blow a door open. So they got det cord out there. They blew the front door off of this 3-story row house. They make their entry. When they make their way up to the second floor, Pablo is on the steps going up to the third floor, shoots down at them, and they get a little gun battle going. Nobody gets hit. One of our guys, one of the Dahin guys, was on the steps, and he actually tripped, fell on the steps, which saved his life because Pablo shot at him, and the round went right over his head.
Wow, it's amazing.
Pablo, who at one time had as many as 500 sicarios, is down to 1, which just shocked us. We were all surprised by this. The sicario, his nickname is Limon. I can't remember his real name. They get up to the third floor, and there's a window, and the row house behind them is a 2-story rather than a 3-story. So you can get out that window, you can jump out, and it's a good little drop. It's probably a 10-foot drop to the roof of that 2-story. And then you got a 3-story and a 3-story. So there's that one gap there. So Limon jumps off. He goes running across the roof. He's trying to figure out how to get off the roof. And the 2 guys out back are yelling at him, "Police, drop your weapons." He starts shooting at them. So they drop him. They shoot him. He falls off the roof dead. Now, Pablo, he knows the guy's coming up steps, right?
Yeah.
And he's just heard the gun battle outside. So he knows there's good guys out there. He's trapped. So instead of surrender, he jumps out that window. He tries to edge along that 3-story that's adjacent, but he knows he's got to run across the roof at some point because the guys are coming to the window and they'll have him in a crossfire.
Yeah.
So he starts going across the roof. He doesn't have any shoes on, and it's a tile roof, and these tiles break under. He was a fat slob, so he's breaking. His feet are all bloody. The cops get up to that 3rd floor window. They yell for him to surrender. He starts shooting at them. They catch him in a crossfire. He gets hit 3 times. Once in the back of the right leg, once in the right butt cheek, which are both knockdown shots, but neither one of them are kill shots.
Yeah.
And then there's a .223 round that goes through his right ear. So we're in Colonel Martinez's office, and the radio had gone quiet, and there was always 2 majors that ran the Dahin unit, and they were always together. And finally, one of the majors comes back up and says, "Viva Colombia, Pablo Escobar is dead." Well, the backslap and high five and all that starts. I'm thinking, crap, I got to get over there and tell the boss. Because our boss, if you better be the first person to get him the information, because if he hears it from somebody else, you're going to have some explaining to do.
Yeah.
So I run over to, I went into where the gringos are, told them real quick, "Hey, it looks like they got Pablo, but we're going to have to verify." We had a 1-800 room right next to them where people could call in tips. We were offering a $5 million reward for Pablo. And there was always an open phone line in there. So I grabbed that phone. I tried to call the front office of the embassy in Bogota. I couldn't get through. Finally, I called the admin office for DEA and the embassy. One of the admin support people, Angie, answers the phone. And I said, "Angie, go get Mr. Toff," who was our boss. She said, "Oh, hey, Steve, how's everything going? How's Connie?" And I'm like, "No, Angie, this is not the time for it. Go get the boss right now. It's an emergency. It's an emergency." Okay, hold on. Well, it probably took 3 minutes, but it seemed like 3 hours. Because I know what's going on. I'm getting antsy. I want to get moving. And Mr. Toff comes on the phone, and he says, "They just killed Pablo." I'm like, "No shit. That's why I'm calling you, boss." He's like, "What do you know? What do you know?" And I explained everything to him. And he said, "All right, here's your orders. Get your butt out there and confirm this is Pablo because we've been down this road before." I said, "You got it." So I run to the barracks, get my weapons. I always carried a camera with me. I come out. The whole search block has packed up and left. The only people there are the guards on the gates.
Wow, they left you.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, and I'm the least of their worries right now, man. So I'm looking around. I'm thinking, okay, I don't have access to a car. I really don't know where they are. It's an area called Los Americas. Could I call a taxi? I'm not allowed to ride a taxi because taxi drivers they take you over, and a bunch of them would rob you. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm thinking I can't even find a bike, and if I had one, I don't know where to go. And just you're just thinking a million things in your mind. And lo and behold, here comes Colonel Martinez with his protection detail pulling back into the quad. And he looks at me, and the Colombians couldn't say the name Steve. It came out as Steak. So my nickname was Stick. And he looks over and he goes, Steak, what are you doing? I said, I need a ride, Colonel. He said, get your ass in the Jeep. And he came back to get his cameras. So, yeah, we go head out there to the scene, which was perfect because with Colonel Martinez, they're going to give me access to anything. As long as he gives a thumbs up. So we go in, we go up and we look at everything inside the row house. We go to that window, look down on the roof. There's the Dahin guys. I yelled at them and they're all holding the rifles up in the air. Steve, we got him. And so the colonel says, come on, we're going to go around the other side. So we go around the street. We have to go around the block, climb the ladder up. And all those pictures of Pablo's body. I took all those pictures.
There's a famous picture of you in your red shirt. I mean, this is a famous picture. I remember seeing this as a kid.
Really?
Oh, yeah. In high school. Yeah, I was a teenager. I remember this picture.
Of all days to wear a red shirt, huh?
Right?
But
so that's Steve. That's Steve in the red polo there and the killer porn mustache. Yeah. You're a handsome guy, Steve.
Yeah, right. And that's some of the guys in plain clothes. Those are some of the Dahin guys there. Those are some of the shooters.
And so who are the two guys next to you?
Those are two. They're not, neither one of them are sergeant. They're, I guess, patrolmen, whatever they call them.
And that's Pablo's body. I blurred it out so you two didn't get mad at me.
Yeah.
So that's Pablo Escobar, who we covered, this hour and a half, who's wrapped up in Steve's life. Such a pivotal time in your life, and a horrible, horrible mass murderer, scumbag, kingpin, and this was his final demise. Look at him, shoeless, slob. Slovenly dead on top of a rooftop all by himself where he belonged.
What I'd like to say is, how's that $30 billion working for him now?
Yeah. It doesn't mean a damn thing, does it?
Nope. No.
All the suffering, for an entire country. Man brought a country down to its knees.
And so when Javier and I, like I said, it's our 10th year traveling around the world. I show this picture to everybody because I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not overly proud of it. Quite honestly, I got a lot of grief from headquarters in Washington when they saw that picture. And what happened is I've got the only camera that worked, believe it or not.
No kidding. Martinez's camera didn't work either?
Nobody's worked. So the Dahin guys are like, Steve, take my picture. And they were posing with Pablo. And then finally they're like, come on, get in here with us. So that's how that picture came about. And why we're all smiling is because there's a mass murderer who was finally got what he deserved.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think this is an acceptable time to be happy that someone's dead. The guy caused so much suffering and so much damage.
Drug king, who was for years one of the world's most wanted men, was gunned down today by Colombian police in the Colombian city of Medellin. His drug cartel was named for the city he controlled for so long. He was only 44. Old enough for cocaine to have made him one of the richest men in the world, rich and ruthless enough to have hundreds of people who got in his way killed, from people who ran drugs to people who ran the country.
Yeah, hundreds, about tens of thousands.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was a
Jennings, correct?
Yep.
Yep, that was a trusted voice in the news media, I guess, when you can say they were somewhat trusted, even though if we go back and look at it now, they're probably a lot of lying back then, too.
Yeah, the guys in uniform, they're the ones that responded after the fact. The three guys in plain clothes, there was about, I want to say 10 or 11 of the Dahin guys that were involved in the shooting.
That's what my question was. So you guys had 600 people ready to go. How many people were involved in hitting the house and surrounding it?
Well, you had two stayed out back, and so that'd probably leave you, 8, 9 guys to make entry.
So 11 people total took them out.
And I don't know if Colonel or Lieutenant Martinez, well, I'm sure he joined them, but he wasn't a hitter like these guys were. These guys, man, they run your day.
And now you guys were under the assumption that he'd have more than one bodyguard with him, correct?
Oh, yeah. So when we found out it was only one, it's like, wow. But that's an example of how his whole organization had been devastated.
Crumbled, yeah. That's from you and your team and the Colombians. I mean, you guys did a hell of a job. It was pretty damn amazing.
Well, there was a group called Los Pepis that had a lot to do with it also. And that was just vigilantes.
Yeah. So
I mean, this was a very bare bones. It's only, hour and a half of what we just went through. There's so many different nooks and crannies and different angles to look at this and different players, that we haven't even touched on. If you're interested in Pablo Escobar, there's a lot you can go look at. Highly recommend watching the show Narcos. It's amazing. It's about Steve's career and his partner Pena. Your book, if you want to hold it up for us.
Absolutely.
Manhunters: How We Took Down Pablo Escobar. Where can you order that, Steve?
You can get it on Amazon, but you can also go to DEAnarcos.com, DEANARCOS.com. We sell them online there, and they will be autographed, which I think these already are.
There you
They're
go.
autographed, and then we can add a personalized message up here. And
Is it both of you, Pena and you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our publisher, St. Martin's Press, sends us these little, they call them, I call them stickers. I don't know. They call them plates or something like that. We autograph them, and I handle all the shipping, so it's authentic.
Nice. And you have your podcast, Game
of
Crimes.
Crimes. Yeah, I'm in the 5th year of that. Just like you, every show, I have a guest on every show. It's all about primarily law enforcement and military, but occasionally I'll bring in a former bad guy.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The show's great. I'm on it. I'm one of the episodes. I highly recommend you to go check it out. So we are wrapping up here. Like I said, there's a lot. There's so much to this, and your story and Pablo's story. We can spend actually a couple of days going over it. The political angle of it and just the organized crime. It's amazing. You had the Cali cartel, which was somewhat involved in it, and the Los Pepes. What was the Northern cartel there also? What was the other one?
It's called the North Valley Cartel. North Valley Cartel.
North Valley, yep. Yeah, they're somewhat involved in it. There's just a lot. And you can watch Narcos all the way through when it goes into Mexico. I think it's one of the best shows ever done on TV. Especially your first 2 seasons are fantastic. So just a real quick couple follow-up questions. I noticed that you guys always put your handgun in the small of your back. Is that true, or is that just for Hollywood?
No, it's true.
Really?
We both had Smith & Wesson Model 659s, which are stainless steel 9mm that did not have the hammer. That's what I carried in Miami. It's what I carried in Texas. And because there's not a hammer, when you go to pull it out, you don't snag on your shirt, and it's stainless steel. So when you get sweat on it, it doesn't rust.
So you put it in the small of your back?
Yeah, believe it or not.
I noticed that they made a point in the show to show you that you guys always they're taking it from there. So I thought that came from your direction.
Yeah.
And I was curious to see if that was a thing, because that's something you normally wouldn't do in law enforcement, but that was back in the old days, right?
Well, just keep in mind, they didn't hire us because we were real smart.
Yeah. And those hammerless guns are great. Just a little tip. You can put them in your coat pocket and just fire through it if you have to.
Absolutely.
No hammer will get snagged up on your coat pocket.
And those
great for
that weapon. My weapon is on display. Javier and I, we
No
loaned
kidding.
the Mob Museum out in Las Vegas. They've had it for 4 or 5 years now. They do different displays. If you go down the lower floor where the bar is, and I think that's where the souvenir shop is and all that.
That's a great spot too. I love the Mob Museum there.
It is. It's pretty cool.
All right, last question real quick. And this aggravated me, and I told you this before. Season 3, they didn't even show you where you were at or what you did. It was like Steve is gone. Now I'm like, man, they couldn't even just done like a 2-minute, hey, here's Steve back in the United States saying hi to Pena or goodbye or whatever. Good luck. So what did you do real quick after this is over? Where'd you go? What'd you do?
I ended up in a place called Greensboro, North Carolina. We had, I spent 4 years in Miami where we had 200 plus agents, went to Colombia for 3 years. And now I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina, where we had 5 agents and no task force. Really didn't even know where Greensboro was. I had to go look on a map to see where I was going, and got there and hooked up with the state and local guys and had a blast for 3.5 years.
Still with DEA?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And how long did you stay in the DEA after that?
Until 2013. So I had 26 years with DEA, 38 as a cop.
All in North Carolina after you left Colombia?
No, I did 3.5 in Greensboro, then got promoted to group supervisor, went to Atlanta for 3.5 years, went to Special Operations Division to do my headquarters in Washington, spent 5 years there, got promoted up to the next level, which we call an Assistant Special Agent Charge or an ASAC. I did my time there. I was the executive assistant to the SAC for a couple of years. So when you do that kind of job, which is very demanding, time consuming, you get your poster preference coming out.
Nice.
So I went back to Atlanta as an ASAC, got to start the OCDF strike force down there. I mean, I got to build the office, pick the colors, furniture, everything. Had 6 enforcement groups from 4 different agencies, all federal, plus probably 60 state and local task force officers. These guys were kicking ass, taking names. From that, got promoted to what we call the senior executive service or special agent charge position, back to headquarters in the Office of Special Intel, which is all classified, so can't talk too much about that. Did that for a year and then got made the director of the OCDF Fusion Center. So my last few years, I was detailed over to the Department of Justice, and I was the director over there.
Gotcha. So you retire and then you become Hollywood.
Well, mandatory retirement age in the federal law enforcement is 57. I was 56. I had 2 daughters in college. The DEA administrator had offered Javier and I both 3-year extensions so we could go to age 60, and we both accepted. And then that's when Narcos called or Hollywood called, and we talked to I turned them down to start with.
Yeah.
And the guy flew to Washington, and we met, had dinner, and kind of hit it off, him, a couple writers. And he called me in February. No, I got the first call in February. I talked to him in March. He came to DC in March. By May, we had a signed contract with Netflix, and in June, I pulled the pin. And in July, we were sitting in Hollywood writing the first season of Narcos.
Nice. It's fantastic. And here we are.
Last thing I ever thought I'd be doing in retirement.
Right?
I thought I'd be one of the blue coats down at the federal building, the security guys.
It's a hell of a ride. You never know. Your life has been anything but ordinary. It's been extraordinary. Steve, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Thank you, people, for listening. You can check us out at YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Rumble. Go to goodcopbadcoppodcast.com. You can get us on our socials. Check out any of our podcasts, prior, former, whatever. You can grab some gear there also. Please share and like, and also check Steve out. Get his book. Go to Game of Crimes. Check us all out, people. I'd like to thank you so much. Keep sharing. Thank you.
This episode is sponsored by AR Law, PA State Rep Martina White, Biondo Creative, Morrow Flooring, and Pops McCann Whiskey.